is Hunter Nance versus Alejandro Younger. Looking at the rest of the table, for Modern, Lucas Michaels is the player playing Affinity. He'll be playing against Vincent Adinolfi playing Jeskai Control, a deck you don't see that much in Modern, but actually has a very good matchup against Affinity.
Yes.
And then as our standard matchup, we have Collins Mullen, top 16 player on the tour this year, playing Teamer Aetherworks against Daniel Duan on Green-Black Energy. So Alejandro is on the mull to 6. He's on the play, and he will duress Hunter. Take a look at Hunter's hand.
Let's duress off of Guru Swamp, which suggests that Alejandro has played some Legacy.
This is like what every Storm player's deck looks like. It's either they've either had it for 15 years and didn't change a card, because that's Storm, or they're probably not playing Storm. We see on Hunter's side 2 Ponders, a Daze, 3 lands, one of which is a Wasteland, and then it looks like he has a discard spell in there.
Yeah, I reckon that's a Cabal Therapy. I could be mistaken. It's a new border.
Yeah, Therapy in one of the Eternal Masters sets, so that one's still fine. Looks like Daze is going to be the take. So for Nance, he'll go for a Ponder to start things. Now he's playing the Ponder off an island, which means that, well, if he finds another Daze to replace the one that was taken, that will have to be a concern. If Alejandro's taking the Daze, as opposed to, say, the discard spell, does that make you feel like he's setting up for a turn 2 kill?
It makes me feel like his hand is not redundant, or he wants you to believe that his hand is not redundant. It's a pretty serious liability if Hunter has Cabal Therapy, peels Cadaxian Probe, and then just take your 2 Dark Rituals or whatever.
Yeah. It's a Ponder for Collins, or for Hunter. And he's happy with what he sees. Looks like he draws a Force of Will that goes with the Ponder in his hand. Cabal Therapy from Alejandro. First, we'll see if it resolves. We know he could name the discard spell he knows about. If he has the read, and he does, he just names Force of Will. That's so strong here.
Yeah, Hunter kept that Ponder on top pretty quickly.
Got to watch your body language on that. It was, I mean...
This is what I love about Cabal Therapy.
Yeah.
It's how you know a really good player.
And Alejandro sees it, ritual ad nauseum. Let's do this.
Also the fact that this hand only loses 2 Force of Will, so you may as well just name that with your Therapy. And we're off to the races with ad nauseum.
Okay, yeah, he does have to pay for the Dark Ritual, so we'll do that.
Got a little excited, I imagine.
No mana floating for Alejandro. Continues to flip. He has taken very little damage so far at this point.
And he has more than enough Storm and bonus spells here. He just needs to find some kind of tutor that he can cast.
So Dark Petition. He's got 3 Lotus Petals so far.
He has Cabal Ritual as well, which will get him to mana for that Dark Petition. And 1 left over because of the 3 petals, and plenty left over because of the LEDs.
Can he just stop now?
Yeah, this is enough.
Oh, yeah, so he stops now at 11. Plays Petal, Ritual, Dark Petition. That's with Spell Mastery. He can get any card here.
Doesn't even have to LED here. He can just Tendrils.
Yeah, Tendrils. And then uses the 3 black mana off Dark Petition plus Tendrils. Yeah, that will work. And Alejandro Younger takes the game over Hunter Nance. Storm can put a pretty big check on there. You know, Hunter, for example, you had said it would really be a shame if Hunter were to just probe and play Therapy, taking 2 Dark Rituals. I don't know if you saw that Alejandro's hand was 2 Dark Rituals and an Adnos.
I mean, honestly, as it stood, I kind of wanted Hunter to just cast Therapy instead of Ponder.
Yeah,
just name Ritual. The worst case scenario involves Dark Rituals, right?
It's the only +2 without any work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But that's what I was saying about Alejandro there. He cast that Cabal Therapy, said, you have a Force of Will or you don't. You're dead either way because I'm taking it if you do.
And it's not even a body language thing. He names Forcible because that's the only card that can beat him.
Yeah, he took Daze already. He can just, if he sees a Daze off of that therapy, I guess he has to play around that. Shucks.
Right. Well, so big win there for Alejandro Younger. We're going to look at their sideboards. On Alejandro's side, he's got 3 actually some cards here by force. That's a card from Amonkhet. Red X, destroy X target artifacts. He's got 3 Dread of Night, 2 Echoing Truth, 2 Tormod's Crypt, 2 Surgical Extractions, 2 Pyroclasms, and a copy of Empty the Warrens.
There's really not a lot that's going to come into play here. The Pyroclasms are fine enough. If you're concerned about getting run over by Delver of Secrets, that gives you some play in that scenario. Frequently against these blue decks, Empty the Warrens is the kill that you'll go for if you find yourself in that kind of situation. So the empty seems fine as well. Not a whole lot that's too interesting here otherwise. You have to wonder whether or not Nance has access to Null Rot out of the sideboard. You don't want all of your artifact mana shut off, so you may be interested in at least 1 Echoing Truth for that reason. Yeah,
a lot of times with a Storm deck, it's not... Well, it depends how much ways you have to find cards. Boarding in 1 Echoing Truth in the dark is frequently a fine thing to do.
Yeah, the deck is it's a Brainstorm Ponder deck. It has pretty high access to even 1-ofs. Preordain and his 2 copies in this deck as well.
Yeah, now Alejandro did get the first game, but the post-book games are tougher because Grixis Delver, well, Delver in general tends to present a lot more counter magic after sideboarding.
Yes, as we go to the sideboard here, Hunter does have 2 Flusterstorms on the sideboard. That's quite powerful here. More copies of Cabal Therapy, which can be very significant against the Storm deck. Surgical Extraction is reasonable here.
Yeah.
The deck is a lot of the same redundant pieces. If you find a way to get the Tendrils in the graveyard, you can turn them off of a lot of potential lines. Though with the empty coming in off the sideboard, there's still multiple ways to win. But sometimes even just hitting a card that you know is in their hand can be very significant.
Yeah, even cards like Pyroblast have a lot of play. It just can counter things on Hunter's side.
Countering their Brainstorm can be very significant.
Yeah. So 2 game 1s finished, and actually in the modern match, some breaking of serve here. Lucas Michaels with Affinity takes game 1 over Vincent Adinolfi. So a win for each side in the Eternal formats. Jeskai Control, I think one of the more off the grid modern decks that we're seeing right now. There are actually some teams, and we're seeing some amount of blue-white control. A Supreme Verdict style strategy. It's gaining in popularity because of what is perceived to be a favorable Death Shadow matchup for it. So Jeskai, a take on that.
I suspect a non-zero number of Stony Silence will be involved in the sideboard.
They frequently have them, yeah.
That is the card that is hugely problematic for Affinity.
Well, it looks like a mulligan for Adinolfi's having a bit of trouble on his own side. We'll see whether or not how that matchup ends up. You can see a shake on his head, knowing that this is a matchup he wants, but isn't working for him. Trouble on Hunter's side, though. He's going to take a mulligan, whereas Younger is keeping. So might come down to the standard match. Collins, Mullen, and Daniel Duan, they are still in game number 1 right now.
It's true. There's a point in the favor of the Storm deck in this matchup where if you have an opening hand that's Ponders, Brainstorms, and no clear path to victory, that's more keepable for Storm than it is for the Delver deck. If you have to use Ponder to find your first counterspell, that's pretty bad. You can do better with 6 cards kind of on average, so you'll want to send back a hand that's not able to interact without looking for a piece of interaction, in particular because the Storm deck is full up on things like Duresses and its own Cabal Therapies.
Right.
If they just probe you on turn 1 and your hand is Ponder, 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 Delver, Deathrite Shaman, they're going to kill you.
Yeah, you have a little more time. Though frequently, if you don't do anything with Storm, Grixis will kill you. It just doesn't, if you get a point where their hand is Flusterstorm Daze and there's a Delver in play, they basically killed you.
Yeah.
Hunter keeping on 6, so he starts out with Cataxian Probe. And Younger's hand heavy on lands. 4 lands in it. He's got a Lotus Petal, a Cabal Therapy, a Brainstorm, and then 4 lands. It's the type of hand where a Cabal Therapy on Brainstorm is really good here.
Hunter would like to have a Red Blast in his hand.
Yeah, if Alejandro is putting a lot of pressure on this Brainstorm to resolve.
Yes.
We'll see if it does.
So the way that the game plays out, depending whether or not Hunter has early pressure, now that it's face up, it's less true. But the Storm deck is capable of just playing these underground seas, kind of hoping that Hunter wastelands him and buying himself some time that way.
Yeah, Alejandro with a copy of Dark Petition as his draw. He'll play the Lotus Petal out on turn 1 here. And for Hunter, it's going to be Brainstorm with a fetch land up. Looks like he's got a lot of defense here, but is looking for a threat.
And the first card off this Brainstorm was a Delver of Secrets.
Yeah, Secrets and Cabal Therapy picked up. It's great 2 cards for him. Daze and Flusterstorm both in hand. So he now completes the Brainstorm. Unlikely, if you're on Hunter's side, that if he taps out for Delver, it's just unlikely that he'll die on the swing back.
It's unlikely, though.
It's possible.
Trying to Cabal Therapy, if you do that on this turn, you at least diminish the power level of the Brainstorm, even if Alejandro casts in response. There's a pretty strong argument for going for Therapy here.
Yeah, at least you get him to Brainstorm without a fetch land. Looks like what Hunter did is he fetched and then passed the turn. He doesn't want to, like... Yeah. Interesting. No, correction. There, we're still in Hunter's main phase. He will actually cast the Delver.
And if he has Daze, Force of Will in hand, he's protected against a lot of stuff, and Alejandro has to draw into it in the first place.
Yeah, Alejandro drawing into Daze Force here seems like much. He did draw a sideboard copy of Pyroclasm, however. So he could just trade with the Delver, but Alejandro's going to take this opportunity to cast Brainstorm.
Yeah, he doesn't want to crack the petal to cast Pyroclasm, and he doesn't want to crack his fetch land until he's Brainstorm first, because he's very land heavy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The Pyroclasm is comparably good on the following turn anyway.
Picking up both Ponder and Preordain is Alejandro, so this he said with his opener he needed to get the Brainstorm off, but then things are fine. It looks like he will do that, putting back both copies of Underground Sea. Then he'll just play a fetch land. Pass the turn. Alejandro looks like he's content to buckle in for a longer game.
Yeah, he had Ponder in hand. He's sitting on that.
Yeah, Ponder and Preordained just decided, no, it's fine. Oh, wait.
Yeah, it's not like he needs to combo on the following turn anyway, so he's going to give himself a little bit more information before he starts filtering his draws.
Delver of Secrets will attack for 1 on Hunter's side.
Yeah, it's very likely that Pyroclasm is his play for the next turn anyway.
So here's a Cabal Therapy from Hunter, and he waited until we had a resolved Brainstorm. So Hunter doesn't actually know anything about Alejandro's hand. He's going to have to be guessing.
You can be reasonably sure that those underground seas have disappeared.
Looks like he named Cabal Therapy. So that means he gets to see the rest of Alejandro's hand. He can also Therapy again if he's willing to let his Delver go.
That'd be pretty aggressive given that there's no multiples here.
Yeah, Ponder, Preordain, Dark Petition, Cabal Ritual, and then Pyroclasm.
If this hand was a little shaky and there was only 1 cantrip, there's a stronger argument for flashing back the Therapy. On this board, though, it's not terribly inviting.
Yeah, it looks like he's not going to, so we go back over to Alejandro. Does not crack his fetch land. He actually wants to redraw one of those Underground Seas. Okay.
Yeah, and it's certainly true in this matchup that if you just make a lot of land drops,
that's good.
That insulates you against Daze, what have you. You can pay more for Spell Pierce.
Infernal Tutor and that second Underground Sea. These are the 2 scries off Preordain. Eventually Alejandro gets that situation that if, say, his Dark Petition just resolves, he probably wins. Doesn't really matter what he did before that. So if he just keeps making land drops, there's, takes land drops and discard, there's strength in that. So top, bottom, then draw for Alejandro, and then he will cast Ponder. Empty the Warrens among the top 3. See if that's actually what he wants here.
There's one Gitaxian Probe and another blue spell.
Yeah, he buries the empty all the way at the bottom of the 3 and then passes the turn. Looks like he took Gitaxian Probe.
I think it was double Probe empty.
That's scary.
He's already set up for a big empty turn if he just goes for that.
Now, Delver of Secrets is going to flip off of Surgical Extraction for Hunter Nance. So Hunter's got a lot of his own defense. He's got Daze, Force, Blue card, and Surgical. It's going to be a lot for Alejandro to fight through.
The information that Hunter currently has suggests that Alejandro has no cards in hand that are redundant with the cards in his graveyard.
Yeah, he only knows Pyroclasm. And Dark Petition.
He also knows that Alejandro has 2 cards that he's floated on the top of his deck. That's a kind of a null tell given the fetch land.
Yeah.
But it's potentially actionable information.
Right. Gitaxian Probe for Alejandro. So now he'll get to see what he's up against. And it's good. So yeah, Force of Will, Daze, Flusterstorm, and Surgical.
This is a really rough hand to combo through.
It's not impossible, but it's tough. You're right. Some updates. In Standard, Daniel Duan on Green-Black Energy takes the first game over Collins Mullen.
Notably, if he just casts a couple of Gitaxian Probes, maybe one other spell this turn, he can go for empty without exposing any things that he cares about getting hit by Surgical, and that should get the Flusterstorm from Hunter.
Yeah, if he just goes probe, empty for 4, yeah, Hunter's going to have to Flusterstorm all of that.
Mm-hmm. And there's no rituals in the graveyard, so he doesn't have to be too concerned about Surgical.
The nice part about trying to do a full combo on this turn is right now, Hunter's pitching a blue card to Force of Will that's like a real blue card.
Yes.
Daze is becoming less real every turn, so you assume that's the card that Force of Will is eating.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 probe has happened. Looks like Pyroclasm is the play from Alejandro. This is another way to actually force some action. It would take Flusterstorm or Force of Will to counter this from Hunter.
It forces action or buys him time to figure out a combo turn later. Both of those things are fine.
Yeah, this kills the Delver. It's not a combo turn, but this is so much time from Alejandro. Card drawn for Hunter. It is a Brainstorm. His hand's not particularly bad, though. You know, it's going to be hard to replace things.
He just wants to get another threat on the table.
Yeah. Looks like he picked up a Deathrite Shaman as well.
It's on the slow side, but it has a body. Yeah, but even though he has a lot of defense against a potential combo turn, if you don't kill the Storm player, when they have 7 cards and draw up to 8, they can fight through a lot of hate.
Yeah, that's one of the things I do like about these spell. Like, this whole game happens on the stack.
Mm-hmm. And once Alejandro has a spot where he can aim a discard spell at Hunter and get rid of that Flusterstorm, Hunter actually doesn't have that much protection.
No, the counter spells from the Delver deck, a lot of them are soft counters. Mm-hmm. So if you just...
Well, even just the hard counter Force of Will, Alejandro can get to a point where he's casting a Storm spell. It's not that difficult. He has a lot of mana sources that are just permanents on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm. So completes the Brainstorm, does Hunter, plays Deathrite Shaman. Leaves up 1 mana, passes. So he has the mana for the Flusterstorm. I assume that one's still in his hand. I wouldn't put that back on top. Brainstorm the pickup for Alejandro. Still has that second Gitaxian Probe. Looks like he'll start with Brainstorm. Picking up another Brainstorm, another land, and then a Dark Ritual. So what does he not need this turn? He'll have to decide. It looks like at this point, Alejandro is not interested in lands anymore. This is the second time he's had the option of putting another land on the battlefield, and he's putting them away in his deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, enough turns have passed. He hasn't been wastelanded. He doesn't need a ton of lands. When you don't have 7 spells in your hand, you don't need to keep committing these permanent mana sources. You need to find sufficient spells to actually build a combo turn.
Right. It still feels like he's trying to bait out the Flusterstorm and then get some sort of empty the Warrens off. Which, all things said, isn't a bad strategy. He knows he wants to put back the land. He has to decide what goes with it. He's thinking maybe Infernal Tutor. Maybe something else. Maybe Brainstorm. And maybe Dark Petition. So looks like he keeps the land and puts Dark Petition, Infernal Tutor on top of his deck. Or no, Dark Petition, something else on top of his deck. Infernal Tutor stayed in his hand. But he did make the land drop here. And go back over to Hunter. And make a land drop of his own. And just pass. Okay, that draw was the Brainstorm for Alejandro. So top card of his deck is Dark Petition. He has Brainstorm as a cantrip. The big payoff cards in his hand. He's got a he has a Infernal Tutor and an Empty the Warrens. We'll start with a Brainstorm. Finds Cabal Therapy. You're saying he was looking for perhaps a discard spell.
Yes.
And to that effect, Alejandro's actually saved a Gitaxian Probe this whole time, I think in anticipation of drawing Cabal Therapy.
And still face up. He's already seen Flusterstorm, Daze, Force of Will.
I guess at that point, well, the Brainstorms happened since, so maybe they're gone, but those are the cards he cares about anyway.
Hunter has redrawn at least one of those cards since the Brainstorm.
Yeah, so one of them's there. You're absolutely right. Gitaxian Probe and Empty the Warrens on top of his deck. So this is a situation where I believe he's hiding his best cards as opposed to his getting rid of his worst cards. He plans next turn to make that play and doesn't want them getting therapied in the meantime.
Right.
Over on the left side, we have our first match completed. It is Affinity, actually, a 2-0 winner. Lucas Michaels over in Modern. So he was the only player to win game 1 for his team, but he took not only game 1 but game 2, so he has the match.
Yeah, Affinity is not in a very good position against these Jeskai control decks, but still very capable of winning games.
Affinity's just such a great deck that, you know, is it surprising that it won that matchup? Not that much.
It's an upset, but, you know, just cards like Etch Champion, which are hugely the giant haymaker, you know.
Wasteland from Hunter takes care of a volcanic island. Hunter's clock just at 2 points a turn, though. We're really digging in. He's got Alejandro down to a 13 right now. Still a healthy total. Alejandro will draw. Now, I wonder if that loss of land is going to change his outlook on the game. And some extra going into this. Another quick result. Daniel Duan, 2-0 winner over Collins Mullen in the standard match. So the legacy match here between Younger and Nance, that's going to decide the round. And right now it is the Storm player up 1 game.
And Alejandro has been sculpting. He's building up. He has some kind of plan.
Right.
You know, in the previous turn, it made a little bit of sense that since he had already cast the Brainstorm, he's potentially tapped a little bit too low for what he wanted to do. Either that or he just deemed he was not under enough pressure to go for a combo turn just yet.
Yeah, if he's going for an Empty the Warrens play, the only counterspell he really cares about out of Hunter is that Flusterstorm. You know, Force of Will, if you're just ritualing into a value empty, Force of Will doesn't do anything. You counter a ritual. That's fine.
Yeah, if you're heavy on rituals, you can get around that one pretty easily.
All right, so he sees here is Gitaxian Probe. So Daze, Flusterstorm, Force for Hunter. And interestingly here, Hunter can hard cast a Force. But Alejandro will see all of it. Draws that empty. He has a Cabal Therapy. So now it looks like he will cast it. Or make correction. Let's go with, he'll start with Dark Ritual. Wants enough mana to pay for this Daze. Maybe not pay for the Flusterstorm, but
right.
Let's see where Alejandro's going.
There's a question, if he puts Cabal Therapy on the stack, whether Hunter lets it resolve.
Yeah, so right, Cabal Therapy is such a strong play here. If Hunter counters with Force of Will, that's probably Hunter, like, Force of Will pitching Daze. He's just down to one counter no matter what he does. If he hard casts a Force of Will to counter the Therapy, then he loses access to his Flusterstorm.
Yeah.
If he lets it resolve, he loses both Force of Wills. If he pitches Force of Will to it, then he can't use the other Force of Will. This is just a really good Cabal Therapy from Alejandro. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He waited until he could pick apart Hunter's hand, and now he's going for it. So Force of Will, pitching Daze is Hunter's play. This means Hunter has either Flusterstorm or Force of Will left, but not both.
Depending how much mana Alejandro can make here, it's entirely possible that he can cast and empty the Warrens for some number. It either gets Flusterstorm or it doesn't. If he's able to produce a Goblin, though, then he's able to just flashback Cabal Therapy by sacrificing a Goblin. Hunter could potentially exile the Therapy with the Deathrite Shaman before that could happen.
Yeah. So right now, I do want to say the Storm is at 4. Now, it is actually, the Storm counter die is 1 lower than it actually is. And we will only fix that once the game demands it, because it's, you know, that they don't coach here. So the Force, they did not count Hunter's Force of Will. It's been Probe, Ritual, Therapy, Force of Will, LED, empty the Warrens. So this is the 6th spell of the turn, not the 5th.
Yeah, and Alejandro has a couple options here. You can actually use LED and Lotus Petal to just pay for 4 copies of Flusterstorm.
Yeah, if Hunter Flusterstorms, absolutely. So we'll see what happens here. So basically, if their count is off, what we do is we don't correct it. If Alejandro goes to make Goblins, then it shows he's resolved the Storm trigger. Then you do have to put the correct number of Storm. You can't under Storm. Once that a Storm trigger resolve, it simply resolves for the correct number. We'll check with the judge to make sure that that is a correct ruling.
It looks like Hunter's not even fighting with the Flusterstorm
there. So Goblins are made. We're gonna. So yeah, with the pausing here on for the judge on the turn. Yeah, there were 6 spells that turn, so he should have 12 Goblins. Now the judge is going to rule whether or not you can miss by undercounting the Storm. You know, if I'm the Storm player and I just count too low, like, do I lose the Goblins, or no, you actually have to correct the right number of spells? He's going to make a ruling on it, and then we'll see whether or not it's 10 or 12 Goblins that Alejandro gets.
Yeah, and you can't partially resolve a spell. I have to imagine that we'll be seeing 2 more Goblins here.
Maybe, yeah. This is where I look forward to hearing what the judge is ruling on it. I suppose technically you could put like 6 empties copies on the stack, and then I don't even know.
You can't just choose not to resolve a spell either.
I don't know. We'll let you know when the judges ruled on it.
It could be some weird thing. I know one thing that is not very intuitive.
Yeah, we're going to come back to the booth while the judges go ahead and work this one out. We'll let you know what their ruling is on it. Right now, this is the match between Hunter Nance and Alejandro Younger. So this turns out to be the deciding match right now. Hunter down a game with Delver. This is a match, though, that's kind of a match that Delver player likes, but what I'm seeing here is Hunter's not being able to establish a clock, and Storm is a deck that, while it is a fast combo, it also can build up again.
Right, and Hunter has not generated sufficient disruption plus pressure. And Alejandro's patience is really paying dividends. He's navigating this matchup extremely well.
Yeah.
The game 1 was kind of a gimme. Little therapy, coast is clear, ad nauseum, kill you. No stress on the ad nauseum either.
No, I mean, the whole thing, Right. I mean, yeah, he got to probe before going off on the combo, so there wasn't any uncertainty, I guess.
Yep.
I guess there was uncertainty because he cast ad nauseam. Maybe it doesn't work.
Right.
But
sometimes that will kill you.
Right.
Pretty small number of times.
Yeah, 20 life's like pretty. Yeah,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. This second game, though, has been more interesting between the two players. Whether or not Hunter ever wanted to protect a threat or not, he certainly had the option to try to protect that insectile aberration from Pyroclasm, which he declined.
And it was also just the case that if he fought over that, there was not enough time that passed to make that Delver lethal.
Right. So, I mean, it might be it's correct to not fight over it. I'm not, you know.
I believe that it is correct not to fight.
Okay. So, and then he has Deathrite Shaman in play as a clock now, but at 2 damage a turn, it's given Alejandro a lot of time to really get a nice hand going.
Honestly, the one play I would maybe call into question from Hunter was in game 1, turn 1. Turn 1 Cabal Therapy, naming Dark Ritual, likely could have won them that game.
Yeah, I mean, certainly with the hand Alejandro had, it probably would have won him the game. It was really strong.
A lot of people don't even categorize that as a play to discuss.
Yeah,
but
like, what, I'm just going to blind therapy?
If you're going to register Cabal Therapy and not name something in the dark, just cut that card from your deck list, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly would have gotten him the game.
Yeah.
So, looking at this second game between the two players, right now, I guess, we'll have to see what's going to happen. Now, I also do want to point out, once this empty resolves, Alejandro has at least one Cabal Therapy in his graveyard.
The Deathrite Shaman can eat that. I think we saw.
Okay, that one, it's gone.
That.
It's gone. Okay, good on Hunter.
Yeah.
Well, what about the one that was cast this turn?
That was the one.
He did it in response to the
one
empty?
that was there from before.
So they're both gone.
Yes.
All right. So that's good.
Yeah. But Alejandro has some leftovers. I believe an Infernal Tutor, a Cabal Therapy, and 1 or 2 other cards on top of that leftover.
Does he have anything that can sweep away these 1/1s? You know, like Engineered Explosives, some sort of minus Marsh Casualties. We see that sometimes.
There's none of that over here.
Is it Staticaster?
Nope.
I don't think anyone plays.
We can continue to name other cards that could be or are not in Hunter's sideboard.
Okay, so now that we know that there's going to be 10 or 12 goblins in play, what happens now? Hunter's got to do something fast. He's going to die to this in probably 3 turns.
If he's able to present, say, a couple more Deathrite Shamans, and just get some 1/2 blockers and start to clear them up. The problem with this, of course, is again that Alejandro has significant leftovers.
Yeah,
it won't be hard to just tendrils for 6.
I guess he could Young Pyromancer through it. I mean, we're late enough in the game where Pyromancer chains some cantrips, trades some guys. Maybe it's fine.
Hunter doesn't have that kind of cards in hand.
No, not. I guess he doesn't have the cantrips or the Pyromancer, so he needs at least 2 turns to top deck into that kind of chain reaction.
He has a low volume and quality of leftovers in his hand.
Yeah. Well, the volume thing is really interesting because the Grixis deck it's full of powerful cards, but it doesn't actually have very many 2-for-1s. In fact, its 2-for-1s all go the other way. They're Force of Wills.
Young Pyromancer is like a 2-for-1. Cabal Therapy can be a 2-for-1.
All right. So we apologize here for the delay. The ruling has been appealed to the head judge of the tournament. So the situation was an Empty the Warrens was cast and resolved for a number 1 less than it actually should have been. So then the head judge is going to make a ruling as to what number of goblins does the player then get.
I'm not a judge. My rules advisorship lapsed because it was like 10 years ago that I signed up to be that.
I know you can miss a trigger. You can't miss a spell on the stack. That's not allowed.
My understanding of the Storm Trigger is the Storm Trigger is for 6 copies. It's not 6 triggers.
Yeah, Storm is a trigger. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So, if you clearly resolve the Storm Trigger, I believe that means you must resolve it for the correct number.
That's my understanding.
Okay. We'll see.
I've been wrong before.
I've been wrong about these.
I'll be wrong again.
The correct situation in this situation to do is to call a judge because they're trained to answer these questions.
You look for the person that is currently being employed in the capacity
to do this exact thing.
Where it is their department to answer this question or solve this problem, and you let them sort it out.
So at that point, when when Alejandro goes to the Empty the Warrens, you talked about the play that it's possible here that Hunter can Flusterstorm some number of the copies. Does that get him anywhere?
Well, given that Lion's Eye Diamond plus Lotus Petal can just pay for 4.
It would make him lose his hand.
Yes, that is factual, and
That might be worth it.
with the storm represented at 5, it's good for 2 goblins. If it's at 6, then it's good for 4 goblins. That matters a little bit more.
Well,
there's also the option, though.
Okay, yeah, so it's 6, it makes it more.
Alejandro can also just let the Flusterstorm happen, and the following turn, you know, Infernal Cabal Ritual, Infernal Tutor, find Past in Flames, go off again.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, Hunter, if he Flusterstorms, his hand is a Force of Will, nothing else. He has 5 mana, so it's not dead, and he knows about a Dark Petition still in Alejandro's hand. So it's not great, I guess, at that point. And I guess there was enough mana that if Alejandro tapped out and used all his floating mana, he'd still get, I believe, 6 goblins, just to be paid for all the copies he could pay for.
Yeah, on that turn he had LED Lotus Petal.
Yeah, we had floating mana.
I think he spent it all.
Spent it?
I believe he spent it all, and it was just that 4 mana, potential mana that he had access to.
Okay, so he could have made...
because if he had more mana, if he had any floating mana from there, he can just pedal, cast Cabal Ritual, Infernal Tutor. I guess he's 1 shy on Tendrils from there.
Yeah, I think one of the things that also might be discussed here in the...
he cracks LED, and then he can...
Yeah. In the judge call, what might be being discussed is if the number is 6 instead of 5, because it was inaccurately represented, then does it go, like, does Hunter go back, like, does he get a chance to Flusterstorm then?
Yeah.
And that's a question which, like, I really don't know.
Right. That one is more unclear.
Yeah. And the head judge's ruling actually is exactly that. So because the storm trigger is incorrectly represented, they're going to back up to the storm trigger on the stack. It's going to be storming for the correct number, but they'll get to replay from that spot. That's going to be our ruling, and the match is going to continue from there. So Storm is right now, you see correctly here, at 6. Empty the Warrens has been cast. There is a Storm trigger on the stack. Hunter gets a chance. Now the trigger is correctly represented. Hunter can decide if he wants to respond. And it turns like that is enough of a number to have him do that. It's going to exile away the Cabal Therapy. And he's going to Flusterstorm as many copies of Empty as he can.
And then 1 extra Flusterstorm. Throw 2 Flusterstorms at 1 of the copies.
Yeah, so... Right, so what the representation here is the Empty the Warrens is copy 1. The 5 on the piece of paper, that's the 5 additional Storm copies. Empty was the 6th spell of the turn. So Hunter is casting Flusterstorms. He will have 7 Flusterstorms to throw around as he chooses here. And it's going to counter all of them. So we go back to Hunter. His only card in hand is Force of Will. Draws. And we'll keep playing from here. Actually, the difference between 6, 10, and 12 goblins also significant on this board in that 10 could be like defend, like the ability to defend against them. We're really starting to approach that sweet spot where, you know, can Hunter block some, kill some, looks more and more like no as you add that additional copy.
Though Alejandro, he has enough tools to combo absent Force of Will, but Hunter still has that Force of Will.
Yeah, he has 1 Force. He's got to leave up all 5 of his mana for it. It means when he draws things like Ponder, they become interesting draws. Like, I don't know if I can play this.
You are the Ponder that I will pitch to Force of Will.
Yeah, right? Like, as long as you find a blue card or a land, I guess it's fine. But if you miss, boy, am I going to lose. Another Infernal Tutor, the draw for Alejandro.
Redundant Infernal Tutors are not very good.
No, the second one doesn't do too much. His hand, a Cabal Ritual, 2 Infernal Tutors. He'll start out by casting Cabal Ritual. That's with Threshold, so it's going to make 5 black mana. Looks like Alejandro's just going to reload right away. And we'll see. Does it resolve? Hunter's got to think about it now. If your only counters Force of Will, I don't see the point of countering a Ritual.
Yeah, from 15. You know, if Alejandro just follows up by casting Past in Flames, that's the one that you want to Force of Will.
Deathrite Shaman will exile away the Volcanic Island, and he will hard cast Force of Will. Now this is interesting because Alejandro has Infernal Tutor LED. Is that enough? No, it is not. He'll pass. I'm not sure what he would get with it.
With double Inferno Tutor, you would like to have a Ritual as another card in his hand so that he can use the first to find a Ritual.
Well, he did have a Ritual in his hand.
Yeah.
He just spent it.
The thing about casting Infernal Tutor first means he can't... There's no way that the Cabal Ritual resolves from there. By leading on Ritual, there's a chance that you can maybe win on that turn.
Yeah, he did still get traded a Force of Will with a Cabal Ritual, and that's a pretty good trade for Alejandro.
Right.
Please sign your slip and bring it up now.
It's kind of funny that there's these spots where you wish you could discard your second Infernal Tutor just for no value.
Wasteland picked up off the Brainstorm for Hunter. He's going to waste away, sure, Alejandro's untapped land.
The red source doesn't make a huge difference. There's still Lotus Petal, but...
Cutting him off of colors seems pretty free. And Hunter plays Delver of Secrets, and he actually is out of cards now. Can Alejandro combo? He's got... He draws Gitaxian Probe. Now Alejandro's at 7. He'll go to 5 here. Now, actually, he might die, right? He actually is dead on board, so he's going to have to try for a combo this turn. So Storm counts at 1. Yeah, Deathrite end step activates, untap activates, and he hits him with the Delver of Secrets for 1. That is 5 damage. This is going to be the last turn for Alejandro Younger. I guess, unless he could like find a Pyroclasm, do something cheeky like that to stay alive for a turn.
So, yeah, he has two Pyroclasm in his sideboard.
It's not what I would want my big finish to be.
He has to use a lot of resources to make that play. He has to get rid of both Infernal Tutors and crack the LED.
Well, I mean, his hand doesn't do much. He's got Dark Petition, Infernal Tutor. I mean, the Petition's not unplayable. The Infernal Tutor is unplayable. Like, this is just what he has to do. He's going to cast Infernal Tutor, holding priority, use Lion's Eye Diamond. Get rid of the rest of your hand. 3 mana. Pick the color. It's going to be red. Question here. Is Past in Flames good enough? Got to take a look at that graveyard and just what damage has Hunter done with the Deathrite Shaman.
I believe there's only one Dark Ritual.
Yeah, they are. They're looking at Infernal Tutoring for Pyroclasm. I do like that. I'm saying, what about Past in Flames? Does this work?
If you get Past in Flames, you have to tap the island, and the Deathrite Shaman eats your only Dark Ritual from your graveyard, and your Lotus Petal can't cast much of consequence.
Is that his only ritual in the graveyard? Is one Dark Ritual? It's the only 1 mana one?
I believe so. Yeah,
that's a problem then.
Past in Flames can't get you back Lotus Petal or Lion's Eye Diamond.
If he had 2 Dark Rituals, it would be fine, but he doesn't. He just has 1. I guess if Gitaxian Probe in his graveyard hits... Oh, no, he can't even hit a land. He's already played a land. That's way too risky. I was saying if it hits a land, maybe then you win.
You could hit a Lotus Petal.
Now you just have to hit a Lotus Petal. And I think they're saying, yeah, that is too risky. They're going to have to get Pyroclasm.
Yeah, let's go back to nothing.
Well, who can top deck better? It's kind of hard, though. So, as far as Infernal Tutors and... Yeah, Alejandro actually did get Past in Flames. He's going to cast it, and Hunter's going to exile the Dark Ritual. So, Alejandro's down to 3. All his spells have flashback. He's got like 1 draw here, right?
Yeah, with the Shaman putting him down to 3, he can only use 1 of these probes.
I guess he could...
He can, in theory, use Pedal to cast a cantrip. He has a Brainstorm there. He can do something like find Lion's Eye Diamond.
And then we're good. Then we're good.
Yeah. Okay.
I do like that. Okay.
Right.
There's more
a little
play.
bit of play happening here.
Do you LED first? I mean, I don't think I want to use Brainstorm if I'm going to... Yeah, he's going to go down to 1 off the probe. I think he might have just found LED. He found a land. So that's going to be game and match. Just game for Hunter Nance. They drew a land and scooped. Now, that's a little early, right? He could have cast that Ponder.
We can't do anything from there because once he casts the probe, he can no longer hide something and have LED. He has to find LED and
What do you mean?
So when you brainstorm there, if you brainstorm into Lion's Eye Diamond,
No, you ponder. You ponder.
Okay, sure.
You don't brainstorm.
Okay, I saw that he had brainstorm.
Okay.
So assuming he does have ponder, you still need to like get LED into your hand and then draw another card, right? You end up with 1 card in hand. If you cast a cantrip, you need to probe into the thing you want to cast off of Lion's Eye Diamond.
What about his graveyard? He has some rituals in his graveyard.
I guess he has Cabal Ritual from there.
Yeah, his Infernal Tutor has flashback.
Okay.
Can we do it all out of the graveyard? I don't know if he has enough rituals.
Yeah, so you only had 1 mana ritual left.
He cracks LED for black mana, flashes back Cabal Ritual, going up to 6, uses Infernal Tutor, casts Tendrils.
He can find Tendrils, and Storm was at a number.
And I mean, whatever. If it's not lethal, it's not lethal. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, at least we didn't lose.
That's true. You gain life when you Tendrils.
Yeah. I mean, maybe still, if it's not lethal, you're probably still losing, but, you know, so it goes. Anyway, speaking of how things go, we're going to go to a 3rd game here between Hunter Nance and Alejandro Younger. Game 2 turning out to be a very close one between them. Alejandro's kind of running out of life points. All those Gitaxian probes did add up for him. All right, they're going to get ready for a 3rd game. Now, we were talking about how we are reaching our Season 1 Invitational. If you are not already queued, there are still opportunities here to qualify. That's the StarCGames.com Invitational Qualifiers. These happen at stores around the country. To qualify, so these are exclusive tournaments. They have $1,000 for the top 8, including invitational qualifications. You get SCG points to help earn buys at opens, as well as a top 8 pin and playmat. These will qualify you for either of the upcoming invitationals this season. We have one, of course, our first invitational that is at the end of June in Roanoke, Virginia. So the deciding game between Younger and Nance. Is coming up here. Alejandro's going to get to be on the play. Last game we saw kind of the slow combo attempted. And Alejandro almost got away with it too. It was really came down to just, I want to say that Wasteland from Hunter mattered a lot.
Yeah.
On that last turn, Alejandro was 1 mana short of just starting the turn on Dark Petition, which makes it so much easier.
Flusterstorm, double Force of Will was pretty nice too.
Well, like, say there's 1 more mana in Alejandro's hand, right? He can cast Dark Petition, get 3 black, Dark Petition for a 2nd LED, play 2nd LED, do that whole same turn with more mana, run the Infernal Tutor. That seems pretty nice.
Alejandro drawing the 2nd Infernal Tutor was a real bummer as well. Basically anything else plays. There's a couple other blanks, but that one's probably worst possible.
And that's something you actually talked about in this matchup. We said, you know, Wasteland is actually always good, even on the later turns, just like getting their permanent mana sources is nice, and that did happen that game.
Yeah, keeping them low on mana is just very important.
All right, game 3, Hunter on a 6-card hand. We see Gitaxian Probe from Alejandro. He sees 2 Delvers, Probe, Gurmag Angler, a Cabal Therapy, and 1 land. This is a different type of strategy altogether from Hunter. Rather than sitting behind a wall of counterspells, this is the kind which is trying to get the job done quick.
Having the combination of Probe plus Therapy is pretty lucky.
Right, you get 1 Probe and Therapy, and then you go for, you know, Delver, Gurmag Angler. Just hope to beat him up before he recovers.
Now, if Alejandro just has a Brainstorm, he can kind of disguise what's going on.
Yeah, what if he has a Therapy of his own? How about that?
That was pretty good, too.
I assume he's taking those Delvers? Yeah, he is. All right, Hunter's hand got a little worse. that there's only 4 cards left in it.
We're starting on 4.
Hunter draws a second land. Well, he'll probe into Therapy. At least he has that. You see Younger's hand. It is 2 more lands, a Ponder, and a Cabal Ritual.
Okay.
I guess you can take his Ponder. He'll Therapy away the Ponders. Now just kind of hopes that if Alejandro just draws some mana for a few turns, I think Hunter would be real happy with that.
Hunter has to get into a spot where he can actually cast Gurmag Angler. He's not that far off of it. He has 4 cards in his graveyard already. Once that's on the table, though, Alejandro will have to string things together a lot more quickly.
Looks like Alejandro forgetting to, he did not draw a card for turn there, so they backed him and said, okay, yes, you get to have a card. He drew the card off Probe, but not for the turn. Second land from Alejandro, he'll just pass. Hunter did draw another Therapy. And it looks like Surgical Extraction for this turn. What's nice about those spells is if he casts both of them right now, and that's aggressive, but if he does it, he can play Gurmag Angler this turn.
Yeah.
Is that good enough?
Surgical on Ponder isn't the worst.
Yeah, well, also Surgical on Ponder gives you another look at your opponent's hand. So, like, you're guaranteeing yes, we know about the ritual, but if there's something better, you're guaranteeing a hit. He's just going to actually play fetch land. This is better. Crack it, and then cast Gurmag Angler for his whole graveyard.
Yeah, with this Lion's Eye Diamond already on the table, having the Surgical for a potential Past in Flames off of not too many other resources, that is good to have. And
Alejandro has so far just drawn more mana. His hand is a Ritual, a land, and a second Lion's Eye Diamond. So he goes down to 13. This does mean, though, one Dark Petition, huge game right now. Hunter does not have a counterspell yet. Now notice Alejandro is not committing the second Lion's Eye Diamond. That's out of respect for Brainstorm, I would guess. Right, if he draws it, he wants to put it back away.
Yeah. There's a small set of draws that make him want to have 2 Lion's Eye Diamond on the battlefield. All
right, Surgical Extraction on Cabal Therapy from Hunter Nance. He'll see the hand of Cabal Ritual, Lion's Eye Diamond, Polluted Delta.
That is not the card I would have expected the Surgical to
Probe
tag.
Or Ponder?
I would say Ponder of that mix, because from the information that Hunter had, Alejandro is very far off of an actual combo turn. It would take a very specific small set of top decks, and Ponder is better at finding those cards.
Right now, Alejandro just draws Past in Flames. He might win, right?
Yeah.
Just play LED, make a bunch of mana, Past in Flames. We'll see if Alejandro's going to get punished for putting that second LED and is keeping it in his hand. So now Hunter has perfect information for his Cabal Therapy. See which of those rituals he wants to take. You will Cabal Ritual away, Cabal Therapy away, and we will see. It's going to be the Lion's Eye Diamond.
Alejandro is pretty far from Threshold.
Sure. Well, not that far. Plays the Polluted Delta, says go. Actually, he has 2 fetch lands, but Alejandro goes on to 8. He's running out of turns.
We are in a spot where Ad Nauseam is pretty unlikely to, even if he draws it.
We have a black spell of some kind in Alejandro's hand, though. It might be Dark Petition. It's huge if it is.
That would be the one that he wants.
Yeah.
He has to. He's banking on Hunter's hand being pretty bad, but he doesn't really have options.
It's some sort of black spell. We'll see what he's got. He plays another land, so now he has 3 fetch lands. If he cracks them all, he'll go down to 5, and that'll cost him a turn. I'll make that Gurmag Angler lethal. Okay. Yeah, by cracking all 3 of these, we're in.
Really unfortunate thing is that cracking these 3 fetch lands still leaves him with 6 cards in his graveyard. It is 1 shy of Threshold. Ugh.
What a beating. Okay. Well, he'll just start on Dark Petition. Right?
Yeah.
Just.
I mean, it doesn't make you discard your hand or whatever.
Yeah.
Go find something, cast.
So what's he getting? Past in Flames? Now he's in a Cabal Ritual for +1 mana.
It's like a red card.
And maybe that last card's an Infernal Tutor. Yeah, we'll see. So first spell of the turn, up to 3 black mana. No, it's Dark Petition. On the stack, he's going to crack. Looks like he's thinking about cracking LED.
He's committed to going for something big on this turn. You know, he's left himself dead to Gourmet Gangler.
Yeah, so we'll see. Is he going to crack LED in response? This is the last turn of the game. Seems like I'm not sure why you wouldn't. Yeah, he's got 5 mana here. See, judges.
I think we
On
might be
hand
in a
here.
spot, going by the facial expressions, that his teammates are offering some unsolicited advice.
If I had a Storm Pilot on my team, I would leave him alone right now. Oh my goodness.
I would say, Eric,
Eric, let me know.
tell me if you're gonna win.
I'm be over at the food court. You let me know how we did this round.
I'm gonna get a pretzel. No matter what happens, I respect you and appreciate your friendship. But if you could win, that would be great.
I'd like to be 8-0, but I'll take 7-1.
7-1's pretty good, man.
All right, looks like he's going to not crack the LED. So this isn't going to go to time. That's not really going to matter here. As they're going to go for empty. That seems weird.
It's a lot of goblins.
He's going to try to Infernal Tutor into Infernal. They could chain as many Infernal Tutors as they wanted and then eventually empty.
Well, I don't know about as many as they want.
Well, like some number. Okay, not as many as you want. That's
yes.
you calling my superlatives for what they are. Yeah, he's going to get Infernal Tutor, hold priority, use Infernal Tutor, crack Lion's Eye Diamond. Wait, didn't? Oh, yeah, because he got 3 black mana off Dark Petition.
Yes. Hunter thinking about countering this one. If he has a counter spell.
If he has a Force and blue card, yeah, seems great. So not that many spells have been cast this turn. He cast Cabal Ritual, Dark Petition, Infernal Tutor, and Empty the Warrens. This looks like it's actually only 8 goblins.
That buys a lot of time against Gourmet Gangler.
That's true.
In fact, if the Gourmet Gangler attacks,
Yeah, and they are in
throw
turns.
all the goblins in the way.
This is turn 0, so there may be a. We'll confirm there's not a judge extension. There was a lengthy call here, so we'll get a confirmation on time. Okay, yeah, actually the round clock, because it's on camera, was paused during the judge call. So we are in turns. 8 goblins on Younger's side. Turn 1, 3, and 5 will belong to Hunter Nance. Okay, go to Hunter's first turn.
So ways that Hunter can win this game involve finding a Delver of Secrets and flipping it in some burn spells. He should be low on burn spells in these post-sideboard games.
Well, attack with the Gourmet Gangler. Well, Younger's. They have to decide, is he going to block with 1 goblin, 5 goblins, or 8 goblins?
Yep. Yeah, those would be the 3 numbers that make sense.
I guess it's like 1 or 8. Probably 5's
yeah,
bad. 5's bad.
5 would be your opponent made some silly mistake.
Yeah, 1 or 8. Can Alejandro win from here?
We certainly can't take 5 damage here.
Yeah, I mean, the reason you'd only block with 1 is if you thought you had some counter damage to win.
If you just naturally draw Tendrils of Agony and get your shock on. It gains 2 life as well. So you gotta ask yourself, am I playing for the win or am I playing for the draw? If you're playing for the draw, blocking with 1 this turn versus blocking with 8 doesn't make a huge difference.
You block with 1. Turn 2 goes to Alejandro. Nothing he liked there. He'll just pass back. Hunter, turn 3. Swing, single block again. Down to 6 goblins. All right. Hunter's going to Cabal Therapy. Will Alejandro do anything? We'll see. Alejandro's going to cast Dark Ritual in response. Yeah.
I think he just got hit by a Cabal Therapy for Dark Ritual, actually.
Ooh. Oh, Hunter named it correctly? It's nice.
Would have been nicer in game 1, but you know.
Cast Gataxian Probe. Yeah, that was Hunter just blind named it. He sees shields are down. It's days in the land. And this one, this is going to be the one that does it. I don't even know what its name is. Past in Flames. Then you flashback Probe. You hit land, flashback Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Infernal Tutor. No, it didn't happen. Hunter's on turn 5.
Yep.
That would have been sick, though. I'd have been into it.
Yeah, this one's going to be a draw.
It's going to be a draw. So we said only one team would emerge undefeated. Correction, how about they both will? So these 2 teams are going to possibly share the top of the standings going into day number 2. 7-0-1. They sit still tied at the top of the tournament.
Yep. Kind of in